Sup, fucker?
How the hell are you?
Dude. Good.
Good.
How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastical.
A little sleep deprived, but I've a little bit overconsumed some creatine today to take the edge off.
I didn't take any creatine, but I'm definitely lubricating the process of being sleep deprived.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to help for a midday nap. I got to go home and make dinner, though, so...
I got to make dinner, too.
Go! What are you going to have?
Hamburgers. What are you making?
I don't know.
Well, depending on what you make, I may just go to your house.
Yeah. The hamburgers do sound good. Maybe I'm going to steal your idea.
Do it.
Do a fucking bunless hamburger. Wrap it in lettuce.
Lettuce wrap, protein style.
Yeah, I actually just like fucking make the burgers and then chop it up and then put it into a salad. So I don't have to fucking hold the greasy lettuce.
Yeah, that's true.
Wrap.
Because when you get to that back part of it where all that grease is collected, you're like, ugh.
Yeah. I don't really mind it when my kids look at me weird when I'm licking grease off my elbows. Like... They're like, fucking this guy, really? Holy shit. And they go test themselves if they have retardation also.
They're like, this is the guy we're supposed to look up to? You know what? It's pretty impressive that he can lick his elbow, so yeah. Silver lining.
All honesty, I can't, but I try like a motherfucker. I can't even get close.
Babe, get that for me.
Here, just hold out your hand so I can wipe that off and then lick your hand.
I dig it. You want to talk about some 90s movies?
Yes.
I know we had another topic planned, and we're recoding, but I also felt like we've been tackling a lot of dense subjects, a lot of serious stuff. So we're just going to talk about something fun and easy.
Yeah.
The seminal decade of the 90s.
Pinnacle of fucking cinematic... I don't even know what the word is. There's no vocabulary to extrapolate my...
Good fucking word. Good word.
My enjoyment of 90s movies.
Dude, it's such a game changer in that decade.
Yeah.
I mean, every decade has left its little mark, but the 90s left a lot of marks.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about action, sci-fi, comedy, horror, like everything was awesome for 90s movies.
It was, and we kind of talked about, like, in the 80s movies episode, about how cinematography kind of changed through the 80s. And the 90s just fucking dialed it up. I mean, they just went bigger and mostly better.
Mostly better, yeah.
Everything was better, but I mean, just huge scenes that were like just awesome to watch in theaters. You know, you look at movies from the 70s, and we've talked about this before, and it's like, yeah, they do like a big scene, but it's like if they're shooting something, oftentimes the show scale, they'll just shoot it from far away. Mm-hmm. And so you're just like, you see this huge open space with a person in the middle, kind of like. So it's almost weird now looking at movies from the 70s, and it doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't translate as being a fucking cool scene as it's, you know, supposed to be. Whereas now it's like, they'll have this like kind of sweeping camera movement through the shot that's like, you feel like you're in the movie.
Yeah. As
opposed to like an outsider watching action taking place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for one thing, you had the big leap forward in movie making technology with CGI. Mm-hmm. Namely with movies like T2 and Jurassic Park, you know, that use that technology to like its max capacity. But those movies even hold up today.
Oh yeah.
Where you watch, the scene of the T-1000 walking out of the fire, in the LA River, and he's, all metal and shit, where it's the actual actor's performance, but it's overlaid with CGI, or watching the raptors in Jurassic Park, like those scenes still hold up because they meticulously crafted it, versus now it's, you watch a Marvel movie and it's all fucking CG, and it's like you might as well just make it a full-on cartoon at this point.
Yeah.
But those movies were so cool.
They were, and I think I was at the. I don't know, man. Like, I kind of wonder if like people from like our previous generation look at like movies in the 70s as the pinnacle of like cinematic marvel,
I think,
or if we were just, raised through that time, through the 90s, that was like everything is so nostalgic for us for that time period because we were at that right age. I don't know.
I think there's definitely a big factor that plays into that of, it's kind of like the music you grew up listening to.
Right.
You find to be the best, but the music your kids listen to is trash.
Yeah.
I mean, not as much the case with my kids. A lot of what they listen to is what I listen to.
Yeah.
Because I try to stay current as much as I can. But I think the differentiation is movies. Because in the 70s, it was like an action movie was either a Western or it was like Bullet or The French Connection. Really great movies in their own respect, but nothing compared to what we had in the 90s, because the 90s was such a big game changer where it was like everything was on the table.
Yeah.
And it was also a decade of sequels. Lots of fucking sequels.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't really have that before. You'd have some franchise movies, especially horror movies like Jason and Freddy, but you didn't have like a series of Die Hard movies or a series of Terminator movies or Lethal Weapon. Like the sequels started really just going gangbusters in the 90s.
Yeah. And so a lot of those franchises seem like they started in the late 80s and then kind of continued through the 90s into the 2000s. But why not like capitalize on something that, you've got this story that you've created, you've kind of left it open. Why not capitalize on it? If you can continue the story, make it make sense, and kind of make it more bigger, make it more fantastic. And I think that's what they did, is they saw the opportunity and took it, and not have to kind of rewrite an original fucking universe and shit for all this stuff that they want to happen, take place in, which is cool. But I think that's kind of right now almost seems now, fast forward to 2025, where same thing is kind of happening, where like we're not seeing hardly anything new.
Yeah.
And it's all just like sequels and remakes and reboots of older franchises. But can they is it a thing that they're trying to capitalize off of the nostalgia of the age group that they're going to see movies at this time? Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know.
I think it's just laziness.
Yeah.
It's easier to say we can do a remake of a classic movie. And I'll give you a perfect example. Point Break with Keanu Reeves. A fucking awesome movie.
Yeah.
I mean, even the people who, pick apart the plot or the action or whatever, still enjoy that movie. Fucking great, right? Johnny Utah, give me two. Infinitely quotable. Just so much fun. And then they came out with a remake, and I think it was like 2014. And part of that is you are trying to capitalize on a newer audience. But the other part is that, like, we can either make a remake on this existing property, or we can take a chance and give some nobody $100 million to make a movie and potentially it'll just flop. Or we can make a $100 million remake of this movie and we'll at least have some built-in fan base.
Yeah.
And I think that's the ticket of, we got to stop just trying to remake old IP and just take those chances and go to these, up and coming filmmakers who have these big wild ideas and just take a gamble on them.
Yeah. And even that one is like, okay, the plot isn't really that unique. I mean, the whole surfer thing, and it's kind of its own thing. But like, an undercover agent going in, getting too deep, and it's not a unique plot.
No, not at all.
Whereas they could have just made a movie on its own in a similar vein, but made its own thing. Could have done just as well, or if not better, so you're not going into it thinking, oh, it's Point Break, and then being let down because it's not Keanu Reeves and fucking
Patrick Swayze.
I wanted to say Dalton.
Yeah, it's Dalton.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, even there's another one. I mean, even though Roadhouse is 80s, but you have the Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's... Have you seen it?
No.
It's a decent enough movie to watch. It's like the same kind of flimsy premise. Whatever you want to say about it, it's whatever. It's a decent enough movie.
Yeah.
Why did we have to remake it? We didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, even that is like, did you have to call it Roadhouse, or could you just call it fucking The Bouncer, or fucking have it be its own thing so that people aren't going into it judging it for being not as good as the original, or they might be like, oh yeah, that was just like Roadhouse, it was good, I liked it because I like that movie Roadhouse.
Yeah.
But if you name it Roadhouse, then you're automatically going to fucking compare the two.
Well, there was even... So the only, like, actual carryover from the original to this one is that the main character's name is Dalton, right? But then there's a throwaway line where the woman who owns the bar is trying to recruit him to come be a bouncer, and she's like, I own a roadhouse. He's like, what's a roadhouse? She's like, oh, it's a bar. He's like, then why not call it a bar? or why not just say you own a bar?
Yeah.
And that's like, that's it. It's not called Roadhouse or anything like that. So it's like, sure, a similar plot line, but essentially it's just the main characters have the same name and the word Roadhouse is mentioned. That's about it.
Yeah, I heard it was okay. I heard it was an okay movie, but I just haven't gotten around to watching it.
It's like if you got 90 minutes to just piss away and you just want to watch something and just veg out, decent.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor is actually a lot of fun in that movie.
Is he?
Yeah, just because the guy doesn't act very well. He's basically just being Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So
that's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so watching him just be unhinged and do silly shit is like, dude, it's cool. Why'd they even name him Knox? They could have just called him fucking Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor. Yeah, I mean, some of those that you mentioned, like Jurassic Park, is still something that I'll watch today and be like, oh, I love this. Oh, I love this part. And even that movie, like, most of the acting is a bit silly, but like, dude, the first time I watched that movie was in the theaters and was just like blown away by the dinosaurs. Like, how are they doing this? This is fucking magic.
Yeah.
And now it's just like you see like an alien getting raped by a fucking woolly mammoth or something, and it's like, oh yeah, it's CGI.
Aliens fuck humans.
Yeah. But it's expected that you can see some totally not real shit, and it's just a computer made that shit. But definitely, like, movies like that were game changers.
Absolutely.
Even the way that, like, you might have made a dinosaur movie and not had to get so close up to the dinosaurs, but like that's where the fear comes from, is like being in that room where the raptors are like in that kitchen and they're like running around.
Yeah.
I mean, terrifying seeing that as a kid.
Yeah, or the scene where the kids are in the Explorer.
Yeah.
And the T-Rex lowers his head and his beady little eye is in the window.
Yeah.
Like, because that was a real effect, it was a real puppet, you are able to be in that scene with them and
Right.
and experience that fear and that trepidation of like, holy, there's a motherfucking T-Rex outside the window right now.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just actors, maintaining their sight line. So, or we're just going to CGI this.
Yeah.
But no, they built that fucking thing for real. And that played a huge factor of, you could say it's a limitation of the technology of the time, but we look back at that fondly and go, fuck, why don't they make movies with like real puppets anymore? Or big case in point, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where in the late 80s through the 90s when they made those 3 movies, and they're dudes in suits with animatronics and in the head and shit to articulate their face. And Splinter. But they're doing like real martial arts because there's a real ass dude in that suit. And then you fast forward to, I think it's 2014 with the remake, and it's all it's actors performing a lot of the actions, but then there's CGI overlaid with their characters, and it kind of removes you from the movie.
Yeah.
Versus when it was like a real dude fighting Casey Jones, but he's in a turtle suit. You're like, that's a fucking
Ninja Turtle.
That's a Ninja Turtle.
My dreams came true, dude. Ninja Turtles are real.
They are real.
Yeah. I mean, what's another classic 90s movie? Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, Point Break, the Die Hard franchise. Speaking of, we've talked about it quite a bit. What's your favorite Die Hard movie?
I'm stuck between 1 and 3. Like, I liked the second one in the airport. 1 is the classic. 3 had a much more interesting storyline. And then after that, it was...
Yeah. I'd say 3, just because of the action was so much bigger.
It was, and it was less about gunplay action, because you had a little bit of everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
You had some shootouts and then car chases, or the scene with the big truck in the tunnel and the water's coming through, or taking on a helicopter with a single 6-shot revolver.
Yeah.
And shit like it was interesting because it wasn't just the same shit from the first 2 movies.
Yeah. And it was also kind of like almost like a puzzle movie where like he's trying to solve the puzzle of what's going on and shit. So it was just another aspect instead of just like, the first one is like, okay, these people are in this tower, I gotta like dismantle their, this organization single-handedly, but like in the third one he's kind of dealing with this whole city that he's trying to protect, but there's kind of a puzzle aspect throughout the whole thing where he's kind of like he has to do this thing to solve this and do this thing to prevent that, and so it's another dynamic like thing that he had to figure out.
I agree, and I think in the first 2 movies it was a lot about you have to be able to shoot and you have to be able to fight. There's not a lot of thinking required. But in the third movie, he had to actually persevere through a bunch of different trials and had to rely on other people for help. And he had to actually think through problems instead of just shoot at them, And that's why I get kind of torn between 1 and 3. If the third one was the first movie, I would have totally went with that.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have made sense. Also, Jeremy Irons as a villain is fucking awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
For everything he's in, he is the best part about it.
what is his name in that? Hans Gruber is the guy in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Snape, Professor Snape.
Yeah. Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Alan.
Yeah, so we got the Die Hard franchise. I mean, when did the first one came out in the late 80s, right?
Yeah, 88.
Yeah.
87, 88.
And then continue. I guess the last one was probably, what was it, 2010 maybe? Or is there another one after that? Die Harder?
There's the fifth one with Jai Courtney, which is a fucking turd.
I haven't even seen that one.
They're in Russia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like the final battle takes place in Chernobyl.
Huh.
It's bad. So, in line with the Die Hard franchise, you had a lot of the other big 80s action heroes who were just like plowing through the box office. Schwarzenegger had a bunch of bangers in the 90s.
Yeah. Even Last Action Hero, where he plays a washed-up action hero.
Yeah, he's like a caricature of all of his other movies.
Yeah.
And that was like his first box office failure.
I thought that was a good movie.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
I could watch that movie right now and be totally happy with it.
I mean, is like Jingle All the Way as it was, like, kind of corny. But that's kind of what it seemed like. That's what it was supposed to be. Kind of poking fun at his own, like, poking fun at the perception of who he is as a movie star, which was pretty funny to see.
I think that movie works on so many fucking levels.
Yeah.
Especially like when he's in the Jack Slater movie, and he can basically do anything. And then he comes out in the real world and he has this stark realization of like, wow, if I punch this window, it hurts my hand.
Yeah.
Or if I just shoot at a car, it doesn't explode.
Blow up, yeah.
You know, shit like that. And so, plus a lot of the in jokes, like seeing the T-1000 walk through the fucking police station, or the big cutout with Stallone as Terminator. You know, shit like that was just like, there's a lot of in-movie fun. But there is a lot of character development and that juxtaposition between the real world and the movie world.
Yeah. Speaking of Stallone, I mean, he had also fucking hit movies through the 90s. The Rambo franchise, or the Rocky franchise, went through the 90s. Fucking... the Rambo continued into the 90s. But it also kind of led into like spoof movies, like comedies started doing the spoof movies where it was like Hot Shots.
And Hot Shots Part 2.
Part 2.
Classic fucking movie.
Fucking hilarious. And I think that was, I think the 90s was kind of a magical time for comedies, because it was a time where you could make fun of anything and everything without like hurt feelings.
Well, you also think about coming out of the 80s, you had a lot of funny people on TV, but nobody had a meteoric rise like Jim Carrey and fucking Adam Sandler through the 90s.
Yeah.
Look at Jim Carrey's career through the 90s.
Oh,
he
yeah.
comes off of In Living Color, and he does Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar, The Mask, like just whiz bang boom, one after the other, win for win for win.
Yeah.
And it really kind of justified comedy as a full-on genre of film.
Yeah.
I mean, there was comedy movies before. You had movies like Airplane, or even The Princess Bride, or Monty Python movies, things like that. But like, that solidified comedy.
Comedy, yeah.
And then Adam Sandler comes in with the 1-2 punch of Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, and the Farley Brothers movies, like There's Something About Mary, and some of the others that they did. And it's just like, comedy became enjoyable to watch in a movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't just for stand-up anymore.
Yeah, and part of that was like I said, everything was nothing was off limits, really. I mean, you look at those, like, Hot Shots movies, and even, like, going into, I mean, that kind of led into, like, the Scary Movie franchises, where, you know, you're poking fun at all of the major tropes of these different genres of movies. So it's like, if you've seen all these movies, the more movies that you've seen, the more hilarious it is, like, because you know what the inside joke is about. Can't imagine, like, if you haven't seen, like, a lot of these movies, like, watching this movie and understanding and thinking that it's funny, like.
Yeah, think about that opening scene. Well, not the opening scene, but the first scene you see Topper Harley in Hot Shots Part 2 when he's in the fighting building, and they put on the wraps and they're doing the dips and all that. Like, first you'd have to see Rambo 3 to understand where you're even at and what he's doing, and then you'd have to have seen Kickboxer to understand the dipping, like, and then from there it's just practical jokes and gags and things like that. But can you imagine living in a world where you have not seen Rambo 3 and fucking Bloodsport? Like,
well, that, and then watching that movie and being like, what the why is he dipping his hand in honey and gummy bears? I don't get it. Like, is that funny?
Like, what this guy's doing, like, nails and broken glass.
Sure, it's funny, like, in the context of, like, okay, this is what they did in this movie, this is what he's doing in this movie. That's funny, you know?
Yeah.
But just, like, as a standalone, like, you know, so many scenes in that movie would just be, like, it probably is lost to a lot of people. Maybe even, like, looking back at it as, like, if you were a kid now and you, or a teenager or something, and you watch that movie now and you haven't seen most of these movies that it's referencing, it would probably be the stupidest movie you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, we watched it and understood what it was talking about. So, I mean, again, like, those comedies that were huge box office hits, like, they were huge movies. And now you get comedies where they're kind of repressed as to what they can do, or, like, I don't know, some movies don't do as well as they probably should just because the audience is different now.
Well, I mean, there's a couple factors, and you're totally right. Just like the sanitization of comedy, it just neuters it, where you can't joke about race anymore. You can't joke about people of different religion. You can't joke about different sexualities or whatever. So you have such a very narrow bottleneck of what you can joke about, and now it's like those jokes aren't funny. If it's not a little offensive, it's not going to matter. Or even, you know, with Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2, where you, even if you took out, like, the referential aspect to other movies, all you're left with is just, like, the physical gags.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the silly shit of, like, Mr. Bean, you know, when they go to extract him, he's like, I can't walk. And then he's like, did they break your legs? He's like, no, they tied my shoelaces together. You'd just be like, that's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But if you watch, you know, if you kind of understand the flow through of the movie and all the references and stuff, you're like, this movie just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
But they were also able to poke fun at a lot of things that you probably couldn't poke fun at now.
Yeah. Well, you probably can now. Like, I think that comedy is kind of making a resurgence of, like, revitalizing itself through, like even watching that fucking Tom Segura Bad Thoughts. Have you watched all the episodes?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh, dude. That shit gets fucking wild. And it seems like in that series there's nothing off limits. A lot of it is he's poking fun at himself.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and then kind of making fun of movies specific, not specifically, but, like, very, like, niche things that he's making fun of.
Yeah.
That it doesn't seem super offensive unless you really want to take offense to it, like, which probably is going to happen to him. But I don't think he cares.
No. That guy gives no fucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the last fucking skit he was in, he's walking around with his giant dick over his shoulder.
So I was watching that, and Kara was getting ready for work, and I was sitting there and just fucking laughing my ass off. And she walks out from the bathroom and is like standing there looking at him. He's like standing there talking to the lady, and she's like, "What is he holding on his shoulder?" Like, "Oh, that's his dick." He went to the gym too much and was taking the shots and got a huge dick. She's like, "What is this show?" You gotta watch it.
That show fucking, I want to say it broke all the rules, but it didn't. It just didn't play by them.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I'm gonna make a show that I think is fucking funny.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it offends people. Like, one of my favorite moments was at the coffee shop scene. You know, where like they get his coffee order wrong.
Oh yeah.
So he goes fucking ballistic and he kills people, and he's sitting in the ambulance and telling the story, and the one cop's trying to arrest him. He's like, "Hold on, I got a receipt," and he shows them the receipt, and they're like, "Oh, you're good."
Yeah.
He's like, I'm ready to go home. I'm exhausted. And the detective is like, "Well, you killed 3 people." He's like, "I know, it's so tiring. I don't know how you guys do it."
Yeah.
Just take that fucking shot right at cops, and it's just like, that's fucking comedy gold.
That's funny, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of like comedies like that through the 80s. And like I guess the 70s, like you said, Monty Python and that group and were doing comedies like that. I guess Airplane was probably in the 70s also.
Yeah.
In that same vein of just like ridiculous, funny for the sake of being ridiculous, or ridiculous in the sake of being funny.
Yeah. And there's other comedy movies, you know, you'll have like Porky's or Revenge of the Nerds, or there's several comedy movies, but they're not the same way that, you know, the spoof movies are, where it is self-deprecating and it is like directly referential to something else to say, yeah, that was cool, but we're still going to make fun of it, you know. Or even a movie like Happy Gilmore, which does not really take itself seriously at all. It kind of has this like stupid over-the-top premise that would never happen in real life. And then you got this guy who's over the top in real life, and it's just like all of it works because you're not sitting there trying to watch like what's that one fucking movie with Audrey Hepburn? The one where it's a really high comedy movie where this dude takes like this like Essex girl and tries to turn her into a lady. I can't think of it. I had to watch it in high school drama class because my teacher was like, "It's one of the funniest movies you'll ever see." And I watched it and I went, "This movie's not fucking funny at all."
I don't know if I've ever even seen a movie with Audrey Hepburn in it.
Maybe it's not her. I can't remember. Anyway,
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
That is Audrey Hepburn. That's a different movie. But yeah, just the ability to take a low comedy and make it mainstream was so fucking cool in the 90s, and we haven't been able to do it since.
Yeah. I don't even know the last comedy movie I've gone to see at the theaters, actually.
Well, that's also, I think, part of the problem with movies nowadays is the theater experience is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Because 2 people go to the movies, right? 2 adults. Even if you get matinee tickets, you're looking at about $30 for tickets. And then you want to get a large popcorn and 2 large sodas, well, that's another fucking $30. Like, you just spent $60 to go watch a movie that's probably trash.
Yeah.
Or you could just wait like 2 weeks and it's streaming.
Yeah, just watch it at home. Actually, the last movie I went to go see that was a comedy was Minecraft, but it's a kids movie. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, I guess Napoleon Dynamite was a comedy, kind of. Nacho Libre.
Nacho Libre, yeah.
Yeah. I think that the 90s were kind of a time for really defining blockbuster movies. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what the difference really was they were going out to make bazillions of dollars, so they made them as big as they could. And kind of had a lot of unique and different ideas and made those movies, you know, unique and different, so that when you go to see a movie, it's not a rehash of an old idea.
Yeah.
Some of them were, but you know, most of them were kind of their own things.
Well, and I think so many movies, the blockbuster genre, which can encompass so many different movies, it became such an event to actually go to the cinema and watch a movie. Think about the Batman movies from the 90s. So you had 88 Batman, and then I think Batman Returns is 92, Forever is 95, and then Batman and Robin I think is 98. So you have 3 of the 4 movies in the 90s. And the product tie-ins and the toys and the merch and a lot of these big movie openings, you know, across the country, you'd have the Batmobile would show up while you were waiting in line, or you'd see somebody dressed as Batman, or
the McDonald's deals with it.
Yeah, like you leave the movie theater and you go to fucking McDonald's and you get a double quarter pounder with cheese, and you buy that cool Batman Frosty mug thing.
Yeah.
That I wish I still had. But it became
an event,
very encompassing event too, because it would permeate different parts of your life. Mm-hmm. Or even like when the Power Ranger movie came out, which, looking back at it, I remember going to see it in the theater. I remember begging my dad to take me to go see it, and I watched it as an adult, and I wanted to call my dad and apologize because that movie sucks so bad. But it was such a huge thing, and granted, Power Rangers were enormous at the time, but the product tie-ins, the merch, the toys, all of that went into it, and it became something like you go to school and brag to your friends, "Oh, I got to see the Power Ranger movie this weekend," you know?
Yeah.
Or the same with the Batman movie, like, "Oh, I got to see Batman Forever this weekend."
I kind of wonder if that's what is killing the movie experience, is the streaming option. I mean, of course, the prices don't help. You know, like you said, it costs an arm and a leg to go to a theater and watch a movie, especially if you have like kids and shit like that.
A family, like you're looking at $120 for a family of 5.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, when I take my kids to go see a movie, it's usually at least like $90.
Yeah. Just
to go see the movie and get like some popcorn and drinks for all of us. Which is like, you know, we're kind of, I expect that, okay, that's what it is. And so it's not like, you know, when I was a teenager, that was a thing that we did every single weekend. We'd go and see a movie or go to the movies. But at that time, there was like the dollar theater option where you could go see 4 movies in a row and be out $15 or whatever. So it wasn't a huge deal. Now it's, I mean, they do have things where you can buy a movie pass and go to the movies for like $40 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to see most of the shit that's being put out now.
Well, that's the problem is... oh, that tickled my throat. The problem is every time they come up with a way to revolutionize the cinema, the movies don't fit. Because you think about in 2013, 14-ish area, they started coming out with like D-box seats, which were cool. They were fucking uncomfortable. I swear to God, they were just padded with bricks. But you had this cool, like, moving sensation. I saw 2 movies in the D-box. Granted, it cost way more. It's easily like $8 more to go see it in the D-box. but the novelty wears off pretty quick. So it's like the two movies I saw in the D-Box, I remember the movie because I saw them in D-Box, not because the movie was good. I think it was Fast 5 or 6, and then Die Hard 5. And let's be real, those movies suck.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to see aliens fuck humans in the D-Box.
Or a lot of these 4D theaters that they have, like in California, seem way cooler. But again, it's way more expensive to watch a trash movie. Versus if we were actually making good movies to match with the technology and charging a reasonable fucking price, you'd get asses back in seats.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of game changers to throw at you.
Okay.
So here's a game changer in horror that came out in the 90s. The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah. Was that in the 90s?
Yeah, it was like 1999. It's got to be. But yeah, that was just like such a huge event and such a different, interesting way to make a horror movie with no money.
Yeah. I remember watching that in the movie theater and kind of getting motion sickness. But I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty scary. But again, it was like that first person perspective, which was kind of new-ish, that really brings you into the you're a part of the movie, not just like observing. You are observing it, but like you feel like you're in that scenario with them.
Well, it's like you said, the kind of getting motion sickness, it just adds another layer of intention to watching a movie where you're actually physically feeling an effect.
Right.
And then you look at how that changes the horror genre going forward, where it inspired so many different franchises and different movies to be told from that perspective, where you get like a Paranormal Activity franchise where it's all, it's all on film or a security camera, or The Taking of Deborah Logan. Like, you only see what's being filmed from the documentary filmmaker's perspective.
Right.
And so that it's just rapidly changed, and hopefully in the next few years we'll get another kind of game changer like that for horror movies.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was before Saving Private Ryan. Was that after?
I think it's after.
Because even that, like, that perspective, like a war zone was kind of new in that respect of, like, instead of just watching the action take place, you're hiding behind the fucking bunkers. You're popping your head out. You're running through the trenches with the soldiers. Again, it just puts you in that scene and feeling the pressure and hearing the bullets whiz past. Like, very cool.
Or even the moments where the sniper guy is shooting somebody, you're looking through his scope.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer of a movie too. That changed the way we look at war movies, because you'd see war movies from before that, and a lot of the times it's a lot of perspective of, like John Wayne in Green Berets, like, all right, peek out from that tree and just start shooting, but there's no perspective of what he's shooting at.
Yeah.
Or the consequence of firing those bullets. Versus like Saving Private Ryan, you see the dudes are assaulting the tank, and then you see them rolling out the 88 and just ripping them to fucking shreds,
Yeah.
Or the dudes just getting slaughtered on D-Day trying to storm the beach. And like, that movie was so cool and so revolutionary to me.
Yeah. That
every other war movie just looked like shit by comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very just game changer especially in that like genre of World War II movies, and seeing the perspective of like one of their platoon members or whatever squad members gets killed, and then, you know, what do? You just have to, like, this person just died, so you just collect their shit and keep on moving. Like,
Yeah.
that sucks, but, you know, you got a job to do. And that's, you know, not something that was really shown or kind of realized on film, like, having to think about that, like, fuck, man, that shit sucks.
Yeah. You just watched your buddy go down from a sniper, and he's begging for help, but you can't go help him, or you'll turn one body into two.
Yeah.
You know? One of the biggest ones of the decade, and this changed multiple genres simultaneously. The Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I think that The Matrix just blew a hole in cinematography and in storytelling, of just like, there's this whole other universe that nobody has tapped into yet, like the whole multiverse scenario, or computer. I mean, there was a few like movies that kind of had computer components, like Lawnmower Man and shit like that,
Yeah.
where it kind of touched on cyber space as a thing. But I think that movie came out, even when I first saw the movie, I really didn't understand what they were talking about until I watched it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, oh shit, they're saying that the computers, it's just a computer, like a video game or something.
Yeah.
I didn't understand computers. Well, I understood computers less than I do now at that time. So it was kind of a stretch for me, but like people that were in the know probably saw that movie and were just like, pfft.
Well, I mean, you think about the indelible mark it's made on society as a whole. I mean, take it down to actually the lowest form is the cinematography, where the bullet time thing came to fruition, which had been done before that, but in a much smaller movie that was really inconsequential. But because The Matrix had so many different aspects of, you know, like storytelling and cinematography, and just kind of capturing like the zeitgeist of technology being on the rise, you know, with looming in Y2K and such. But yeah, you had the bullet time, the slow-mo scenes weren't worn out or boring. The action scenes were just like intense, high impact. And then it brought about the whole idea of simulation theory and delving deeper into like, fuck, what if the life we're living isn't real?
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves, you know, that really kind of revitalized his career.
Yeah.
In a way, and just this really cool idea that anybody could kind of be a hero in the Matrix, because once you unplug and you plug back in, you can just instantly learn skills. Like, that movie was so fucking cool.
Yeah, like I said, I even watching it, so I watched it, the first one, probably like, maybe it was about a year ago now, with my oldest, and was still just like finally figuring shit out, like, oh fuck, that's what this is talking about. Now having a more broad understanding of like the theory of like simulation theory and shit like that, like, oh fuck, this was like so far ahead of, like,
light years ahead.
Yeah, so far ahead of, you know, and I kind of was wondering at the time if I was the idiot and like everybody else got it already, like, or is like, do people have to go back and watch this movie and be like, oh shit, okay, now I understand what the whole premise of this movie was.
Yeah.
Because it is so multi-dimensional, or there's so many dimensions to the movie, so many different stories that are being told at the same time, that you can't just watch it one time and understand what the whole thing is talking about.
Oh, no, for sure. Like, I remember specifically the date that I watched that movie, and I watched it New Year's Eve, 1999. So, like, as Y2K was about to happen. And I remember watching it, and I don't even think I blinked the first time I watched it. And I loved it so much, I turned around and watched it again right after.
Yeah.
And I was so fucking enamored with it, of like, this movie has everything. It was so cool.
And I don't remember. I want to say I saw it in the movies first, but my biggest memory of that movie is was probably the following Thanksgiving after it came out, but we had it on DVD.
I know what you're about to say.
I was like maybe 20. It was probably the year 2000, yeah. Maybe 21. And it was Thanksgiving. I woke up in the morning and we had some weed brownies, and so I ate one, and I was like, I'm gonna watch The Matrix, eat this weed brownie, and then go to Thanksgiving dinner and just grub. And so I ate this brownie and then waited for half an hour, and I was like, I'm not feeling anything, so I ate another one. I think I ended up eating 3 brownies and then turned the movie on, and halfway through it I was just fuck, watching the movie, and all of a sudden I realized the credits were rolling. So I was like, shit, I missed the movie, and fucking started it over. Did that 3 times, where I was just staring at the TV, but I missed the whole movie. And finally it was 10 o'clock at night where I was finally realized that I'd missed Thanksgiving. I'd watched The Matrix probably 5 times in a row, but still hadn't seen the movie. Had just been playing in the background while I'm staring.
Just fucking zonked.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I don't understand the movie. Or didn't understand the movie.
I remember the first time you told me that story, and you were like, fuck, I know I can figure this out.
I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Rewind. Go back.
So here's another game changer that didn't pay off until almost 2 decades later. Blade. R-rated superhero movie. And then in 2016 when Deadpool came out, everybody's like, oh my god, an R-rated superhero movie can be successful. Bitch, we knew that.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
Again, another one of those movies that I watched the first time and I was blown away, and then I turned around and watched it again right after.
So I saw that movie and I loved that movie, but I didn't know that it was a superhero movie.
Yeah, so I had known him because of Spider-Man, where he would ally with Spider-Man to take down Morbius. And then, a few decades after that movie, they made a Morbius movie, and it was y'all fucked up. Blade should have come in and just finished this guy off, because this movie sucks so bad.
Is that with
Jared Leto?
Jared Leto, yeah.
Yeah, that movie's a hot piece of shit.
I want to say I watched that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because it's totally forgettable.
Just recently, too. Maybe a year ago. But I don't remember what happens. Oh, yeah, I do. I remember the movie. Alright. Blade could have kicked his ass for sure, though.
For sure.
But yeah, I remember watching Blade and then finding out probably 10 years later that it's an actual comic character.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Makes sense, though. I can see it now. Looking back at it, yeah. He definitely is a superhero.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, so the 90s also brought about some of our most celebrated filmmakers. Their careers really took off in a big way in the 90s. Case in point, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a Tarantino movie that I didn't like.
I like all of them within respect to themselves, but there's some I like less than others.
Yeah.
I know, unpopular opinion, Django is my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I really like Django.
But I fucking love The Hateful Eight.
Oh, yeah.
That movie just gets me every time.
Yeah.
You gotta nail it shut. Use 2 nails.
Man, he had I guess every single one of his movies kind of is a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Actually, the one that I liked the least was The Hollywood Tale, or whatever
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Not that I didn't like it, it's just probably my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, but because I feel like it was really slow.
It was a long movie, so it definitely had some sluggish moments, but I enjoyed that one. I really did. But yeah, there was some moments that I felt like you could have taken out of the movie and it wouldn't have hurt it at all.
Yeah. But I didn't feel like it was like... Because like a lot of his other movies are kind of dialogue driven, but the way that the dialogue is in those other movies is kind of like almost poetic or something. The way that like the way that the actors like deliver the dialogue is almost, it's fun to listen to, the way that they're talking, the way that they're saying these things. But I didn't feel like that was happening. I mean, there's certain scenes in that movie, like when they're acting in the fucking saloon and shit like that, where it's like, okay, yeah, the dialogue is there, but like in the movie that happens around the movie that they're shooting, kind of, it's different. But yeah, even the ones where he's just kind of accredited to, like Four Rooms. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
And From Dusk Till Dawn, which I don't know. I think that's probably a Robert Rodriguez movie with Quentin Tarantino starring in it.
Yeah.
Or co-starring.
Which even that's a game changer for vampire movies, where in the 90s you had Blade, you had From Dusk Till Dawn, where they started to finally tell a different tale of vampires than the classic Dracula, or even some of the way offshoots like Vampirella or something, where it's like they made vampires scary again.
Yeah, I think that vampires in general were, I mean, the 90s were a big decade for vampires.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had
Interview with the Vampire,
you had
Vampires,
John Carpenter's Vampires, starring the Scarecrow himself.
Yeah.
Blade, From Dusk Till Dawn, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Like all these great, interesting new takes on vampires rather than the classic like Bela Lugosi kind of thing.
Did Underworld come out in the 90s?
I think that was 2003-ish.
It was kind of right after The Matrix, yeah.
Because The Matrix kind of inspired the look for a lot of movies going forward.
Oh, yeah.
But in the 90s, you know, you kind of had that kind of like trench coat look going around.
Yeah. How much the clothes cost in The Matrix?
I hate your face. Well, I mean, it really like set it in stone how popular trench coats were in the 90s with Columbine, the trench coat mafia.
Yeah. I had a trench coat.
I did too.
In the 90s, but it was for my JROTC uniform.
Yeah, I just wore mine because I thought I looked like Neo.
You did?
I did. It's tight. I'd still wear it today if it wasn't June.
Is it leather?
No, it was like a cowboy duster.
Duster?
Yeah.
Tight. Black?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like the only way, you know, a long trench coat looks cool when it's not black is like Connor McLeod, the Highlander.
Or like Dick Tracy.
Calling Dick Tracy where it's yellow?
Yellow?
I don't think I could pull it off.
Me neither. Yellow just washes me out, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, big decade for vampires, and I like Interview with the Vampire. I loved that movie. Like, it was a whole. I went through kind of a thing where it was like vampires, and I was just like loved vampire movies and shit, and then all of a sudden it was like switched to zombie movies, and I was just like, maybe it was just the, you know, I guess that's like 2000s kind of when zombie movies started taking off again.
Yeah, it was like like the late 2000s going into the 10s, like when The Walking Dead came out, it just fucking blew up.
Now, when did they remake Dawn of the Dead? 'Cause that's when I was like back in. Zombies are fucking terrifying. They're real.
Well, you had a couple of zombie movies in the early 2000s that were just like brought it back, but it didn't take off. So you had Dawn of the Dead, and that was like 05 or something, and then you had 28 Days Later. And so those two movies were like, fuck, let's go back to vampires.
Yeah. Where zombies like all of a sudden could like move fast and shit. That was tight.
That was. That made them scary as fuck.
The Walking Dead came back out, and you're like, dude, these zombies are so fucking... How did everybody turn into zombies when they're...
Nobody knows how to go like this. Stop. Get back, motherfucker.
I don't know, I like The Walking Dead.
I do too.
I still have to watch the Negan and what's her name? Maggie spinoff. But I've watched the other ones and they're pretty good. They're alright. Worth watching if you like zombies. What else?
So there was kind of the start of the real like cerebral movies there too, with
Memento.
filmmakers. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's Memento, David Lynch movies. What's the Darren Aronofsky? Like all these guys who were making movies to invoke like your thought process instead of just making a spectacle, you know, or they'll tell these stories very non-linear to where you have to actually pay attention.
Yeah, like mind twisted thrillers or something.
Yeah, like if you watch Memento, the way it's presented, like you have to stay focused. You got to stay sharp. If you watch it in the chronological order, which there's a version you can, the movie fucking sucks. It's so weird how it's a completely different movie, the way it's made versus the way he told it. But yeah, or a movie like Pi, or what's that fucking Jared Leto movie? The one with Jennifer Connelly.
I know what movie you're talking about. The one where she's like escort or something at the end.
And at the end, she's just entertaining all these rich dudes with another gal. What is that
movie called?
Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, or even like Alex Proyas, Dark City, or to that extent, The Crow. Like movies that are less about like the visual and more about how it affects you and your thought process.
Yeah, I want to say too, the 90s were kind of when they kind of really started blending genres of like, it's not a horror movie, this is a horror comedy, or this is a I guess they were doing that kind of before also, but like it seems like it really turned up a notch in the 90s, where, you know, you're having like a drama, thriller, comedy,
or a sci-fi action movie.
Right. Aliens, I guess. Well, that probably started in the early 80s and went through the 90s. I guess the 90s ones kind of sucked, but
well, yeah, Alien 3 and then Alien Resurrection, those, yeah, they suck.
Maybe that's what it was. The 80s for me was like alien movies. 90s were vampires, and the 2000s were zombies.
Math checks out.
I just figured it out, dude.
Fucking solved it, Doctor.
Doctor.
We're PhDs.
I didn't know we had to solve anything in this one, but like every single one. Yeah. What's next, dude? What's another horror genre that I can get into this decade?
I don't know. It's all fucking found footage now. Oh, we got to talk about the technology revolutionizing filmmaking and animated films with Pixar. Toy Story.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, what was the first one like that? Probably, was it one of the Toy Story movies that was one of the first?
Yeah.
Computer animated. Just like being in awe of like, that's a real fucking toy. You know, the people kind of look like shit, but I think they're supposed to. So you know that it's not real, but I saw a funny thing the other day. This is kind of off topic, is like, do the toy characters ever die? And if they do, like if the spirit of the toy is dead and then like the kid comes into play and then the body is still laying there and he's playing with the dead body, like the other toys have to watch the dead body.
I'm more worried about like when Andy started aging and all the toys had to watch him crank his hog.
Oh no, not this
They're just
again.
like, fuck. I'd make it awkward, especially if I was Woody, and just start dropping the phrases, the pull string phrases. There's a snake in my boot, and he's just like.
Let's see.
Let's look at like the top 100 movies of the 90s.
Okay, here we go. 62 best 90s movies. Clueless. I mean, not a real game changer, but it was a fun movie.
It was.
And I think it revolutionized fucking HBO because those movies were on there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've watched Clueless probably 400 times just because it was on. Before Sunrise. Never seen that movie.
I think that's
Ethan Hawke.
That's a trilogy. It's like Before Sunrise, After Sunset, something or other.
Never even heard of that movie. Good Will Hunting. How do you like them apples?
Applesauce, bitch.
Ah, fuck. Schindler's List.
Oh, we can't forget the impact that Kevin Smith movies had on the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Dogma. Like he created his own little universe around these two characters that were just like, one of them doesn't even fucking talk, and the other one's just a stoner. But he created.
Well, both of them are stoners. Just one doesn't talk, and the other one does.
Yeah, but this whole, literally, they call it the View Askew universe because it's View Askew. But created like this set of movies that was Tarantino-esque because it was dialogue heavy, but younger people related to it more than you would, if you were like 15 at the time when Mallrats came out, which was just a year or two before like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And you would have gravitated towards Mallrats over Pulp Fiction. Plus, it kind of gave credence to a lot of people that it's okay to be a comic book nerd because so much of his stuff was related to comics.
Yeah, and I kind of think that he was taking heavily from that comic book universe of creating his own like universe section.
Yeah.
For him, I mean, even like he made the fucking Blunt Man and Chronic, which were the superheroes in that universe.
Yeah.
And they all tie together, and it's pretty smart.
It worked.
And they're, all different. Some of them lean into almost drama, but they're mostly comedies. And it's like, very entertaining movies.
Yeah, like Chasing Amy is such a good movie.
Yeah.
And you think about Kevin Smith, and you'll think about Mallrats or Jane Silent Bob Strike Back or Clerks or whatever, but Chasing Amy was a legitimate good story. And it had everything. It had comedy, it had drama, it had the love story, it had the friendship, it had like the classic dialogue and all that. Like, God, I love that movie.
Yeah. And I don't know if like he launched a lot of those people's careers from those movies, probably, because that's like, you know, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were in the movies and shit like that. But there's a lot of stars that came out of those movies. What's that guy's name? My Name's Earl.
Jason.
Jason Mewes is the guy with the long hair.
No, his name is also Jason. It'll come to me at some point. But yeah, he plays Brody in Mallrats.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of stars that kind of launched their careers in that genre. 4 Weddings and a Funeral. These are all movies that I have not seen. Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say that had to be like 90, 91.
Yeah.
Well, if the 90s taught us anything, it's that anybody can have a career in movies. Look at Steven Seagal.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast. Was that before Toy Story?
I believe so, yeah.
91. I think that was one of those Pixar movies or that CGI movies.
Oh, no, that's an animated Disney movie.
Yeah.
And there was a few banger animated Disney movies too. You had that, you had Pocahontas, you had Mulan.
Disney was big in the 90s.
Oh, they were fucking huge.
I guess they're still huge now. They're just remaking all their old shit.
They just suck now.
They're just doing it on a bigger budget. Of course, Saving Private Ryan is on here. The Lion King.
See, another Disney banger.
Pulp Fiction. You talked about that. Jurassic Park. Shakespeare in Love. I don't think I ever watched that movie.
I watched it. I just can't stand Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah. I can't think of a character that she's played that I like. Even her as Pepper Potts, you're just like, you have no fucking. There's just nothing like.
No, she either knows how to like be like the stern and gruff Pepper Potts, or she's just being a bitch. there's nothing else.
Men in Black.
Men in Black, right there. Great sci-fi comedy.
Yeah. And also kind of delves into the fucking... Another one of those movies that was on HBO, like, non-stop. But I think that... I don't know if it's the opening credits or the closing credits where it's showing the whole universe.
Zooms out into the marble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end credits.
Yeah.
So, and that's such a brain-melting concept at the time. Because I remember seeing it going, what is that possible?
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah, it's possible.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption.
I didn't know that was a Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
But I love that movie.
Such a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who's seen that movie and didn't think it was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, another 90s classic kind of in the same vein, Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump.
Genuinely beloved movie.
Yeah. Probably the root cause of people hating the name Jenny.
Jenny.
Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, there was definitely a lot of
Tim Burton
movies going around, and I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan. I'll be honest. I think most of his movies are just... I don't even know how to put it. I'm just going to leave it there before I say something mean.
I like the Tim Burton style just because it's kind of kooky. Almost like it would be like his whole existence is within the universe of the Addams Family or something like that.
Yeah, which he definitely should have done the Addams Family.
Yeah.
I don't know why that wasn't a thing.
I mean, he's doing Wednesday. which is...
I still haven't watched it.
Oh, it's pretty good.
I'd give it a try. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have anything to do for like 10 hours. Misery, again, Stephen King.
There was some banger Stephen King movies around there.
Yeah. And some not so bangers like Thinner. That was so dumb.
I like the concept of the movie, but it was made kind of cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of his movies could be redone. Just because they were almost... It seems like they were like... If you watch them now, they almost look like made-for-TV movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was just the style that he wanted to have them done in.
I think just they hadn't gotten any good studio budget, good filmmakers to really get behind his movies. Because you think about the It remake, like those movies did extremely well, but then the original It was like a made-for-TV miniseries.
Right.
And not... Like, that's probably the most popular thing that he did from the 90s that survived. Everything else, Thinner or the People Under the Stairs, whatever the fuck it is, the movie about the giant balls with the teeth. I can't remember what that one's called because it's so bad. But yeah, as time went on and they started actually putting effort into like adapting his stories, like The Mist or something like that, with a credible budget, incredible filmmakers, like that's when his career just took off in a much bigger way.
Was it Critters? Is that
No,
what
it
you're talking about?
wasn't Critters. I'll have to find it because I remember the CGI was just fucking atrocious.
I don't even know what movie that is. We'll have to look it up. Titanic.
Huge blockbuster.
Huge blockbuster.
One of the biggest ever.
Yeah. I mean, fucking DiCaprio in his prime. Prime DiCaprio.
I was thinking prime Kate Winslet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a better...
I want you to paint me wearing this.
I guess prime
Rolls.
DiCaprio is probably Wolf of Wall Street.
I would go with The Departed.
Departed. Great movie. Always surprised by the ending. American Beauty, which, you know, you're not allowed to talk about that movie anymore because of Spacey. The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan. Blair Witch Project, 99. Cinderella with Brandy. Like, was that a blockbuster movie?
I forgot about that. Well, just looking at that poster, I remember Whitney Houston's in that movie. Again, the 90s could make a movie star out of anybody. The Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard.
The Preacher's Wife. Like, she was...
Bodyguard was a good movie.
Dude, that movie's so gangster.
Of course, it was Kevin Costner as the bodyguard. The Sixth Sense. Oh, fuck.
I actually thought of that one earlier, but we were on a different slipstream, and I was like, I can't throw that out just yet.
Yeah.
But that's a fucking game changer for horror movies.
Yeah. That was, I mean, was that M. Night Shyamalan's first movie? Big movie?
I think it was his first big movie. I don't know if it's his, like, first.
You had that, and then Signs, which was fucking pretty dope, and then after that, it was like... stupid.
We're not even going to talk about The Happening.
What was the one with the grandparents?
The grandparents.
They go to see their grandparents, and then it turns out they're like crazy. We'll look it up after.
Yeah.
Thelma and Louise.
A classic. That's like a buddy movie for chicks.
Yeah.
That's like the Lethal Weapon for women.
Yeah, it is. Never thought of it that way, but yes, it is. I liked it.
I'm just going to be the doctor of analogies going forward.
Yeah. Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, classic Tom Cruise movie. The first Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, yeah. Dude, that movie was dope.
Yeah, it was. And, like, especially compared to the Mission Impossibles as of late, where it's like that movie felt like a spy espionage movie. Now the movies just feel like, okay, what big ass stunt are they going to pull off?
Yeah.
You know,
like, why are you? I haven't even seen the. I think I watched the first 3 and then was like, okay, I'm out. Like,
I admittedly have seen all of them. But that actually brings me to another like revolutionary filmmaker, because he did one of the Mission Impossible movies, is John Woo, where in the 90s he started coming out to American audiences, where he had been primarily in, you know, China or but he did movies like Face Off, Broken Arrow. I think Mission Impossible 2 was in 2000, but I could be wrong. But he also had all of the movies he did with Chow Yun-fat, like The Killer, Hard Boiled, and shit like that, where he had a very distinct action style.
yeah.
That, yes, it became a parody, but you'll never fucking forget John Woo. Hard Target. He did Hard Target too.
Really?
Yeah. With Van Damme.
Another great movie that we're gonna have to watch.
That one's season 2.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's definitely like the trope of like a John Woo movie of the slow motion pigeons flying. Every John Woo movie, there's probably 5 or 6 in a row that have like kind of a similar shot that's kind of his signature
Yeah.
shot. A Few Good Men. Like all these movies, just like there's quotes from every movie that's just like, you know the movie from the quote. Like,
Yeah. But even, you know, younger people these days would hear that quote, and they may not know the movie, but they know that quote.
yeah.
Like if you say, I want the truth, you can't handle the truth. Kids these days know that quote, but they don't know the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And that's a dope movie, too.
That is a dope movie. Elizabeth, Kate Blanchett. I don't know that movie.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. 7. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Become Wrath, David. Become Wrath.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman had a fucking hell of a run, huh?
Dude, he murdered the 90s. He's in everything. Shawshank Redemption, 7, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Christian. I fulfill my oath when I choose to.
I love that movie still.
I do too.
Yeah.
I don't believe in guilty pleasure movies, but if I did, that would be one of them. I don't believe in guilty pleasures at all. It's just shit you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that movie's got its pitfalls, but I still love it.
Yeah. Scream.
See, another game changer for horror movies.
I mean, it was a revamp of the slasher movies, like Freddy and Jason through the early 80s, I guess throughout the whole 80s, and then the slasher movies kind of died off until Scream came out.
But it was also a very, like, meta, self-aware movie.
Yeah.
Because it was playing with the roles of a horror movie in a horror movie.
Right.
And you never saw anything like that.
Yeah. Fight Club, another one of those mind-bending movies.
Yeah. Just totally out of left field, but just, like, grab society by the balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when I first, like, everybody was kind of talking about the movie, like, have you seen Fight Club? Like, no. Why would I want to watch Brad Pitt and Ed Norton fucking fight each other?
Yeah.
That sounds dumb. And then I didn't know what the movie was even about, you know, when I watched it, and pretty sick.
There's a lot of layers to that movie.
There are.
You know, like the kind of like anti-consumerism mentality, along with creating chaos to break down the system, and the whole multiple personality disorder. Just like there's so much going on in that movie.
Yeah, the Fight Club is actually fighting the system, not just like fighting each other.
Yeah.
Learning to fight the system, I guess.
Yeah.
Very good movie. If you guys haven't seen Fight Club, go watch it. Sleepless in Seattle. Tom Hanks had a hell of a run in the 90s also.
Fuck yeah, he did.
Ghost, Swayze,
Oh.
Demi Moore.
See, you kind of like blended genres there. You get like the paranormal with romance, and there was some good comedy in there.
Yeah.
That's back when Whoopi Goldberg was tolerable.
Yeah.
Now I can't fucking stand her.
Yeah. I mean, Sister Act. I love those movies.
They were just fun.
Ghost. I love that movie. Can't watch The View.
Oh, I hate The View.
Cape Fear. Oh, Sister Act right there.
No.
Mermaids with Cher. Haven't seen that movie. Sorry.
I remember it.
Romeo and Juliet with
DiCaprio.
and
Yes, that was an interesting movie because it showed rather than just tell the same story over and over, we can stylize it.
Right.
And I love that Baz Luhrmann actually like kept the dialogue, from the story, but put it through like a very 90s filter. Hyper stylized, hyper cool. Just what a fucking cool movie.
Yeah, we were just talking about this movie with my kids the other day.
John Leguizamo was a fucking pimp in that movie too.
Yeah.
With like the super sharp mustache and the way he would like twirl his guns and shit. He was so cool.
Yeah, John Leguizamo's an interesting actor, man. He chooses some fucking wild roles.
He does, yeah.
Like, he does a lot of different shit. Like, he did that and then was like in The Pest. You ever watch that movie, The Pest?
Where they're like hunting him?
Yeah.
It's like a comedy version of The Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah. And he's like super annoying in the movie, but it's fucking hilarious. But then he goes and does like Ice Age, where he voices Sid the Sloth.
Yeah.
Interesting character. And he plays that clown in the fucking
Spawn.
Spawn.
He's the Violator.
Yeah.
Like, he is so good in that.
Yeah.
I actually saw a clip of it on TikTok just this morning, where he's in the cheerleader outfit. Spawn is Spawn, and he's our man. It's like, holy shit!
Yeah.
He just went full bore on that one.
It seems like most of the roles that he does, I mean, it's very surprising. Like to see him in. What was it? Didn't we watch a movie that he's in the other day? Is he in? God, what was it? I think it was one of the movies we watched. He's in. Is he in Exit Wounds?
No. Looking at the list, I'm not seeing any of the movies.
Or The Big Hit?
No, that's Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah. I know I just watched a movie where he's in it.
Well, he's in John Wick 1 and 2. But he has just like a minor part. Do you remember his sketch comedy show, House of Buggin'?
Yeah.
Dude, that shit was so good.
Yeah. There was a few like sketch comedy shows that had their fucking moments, but didn't really ever take off.
Fucking Mad TV.
Mad TV.
Classic.
Again, you get the Will Sasso version of fucking Steven Seagal. Which is...
Whoa! Wires? No.
Look at that scene in that Tom Segura, The Bad Thoughts. And he's doing his karate and he's just sitting on a table like...
My favorite is when he's like stick fighting and the one dude's really going hard and then the camera pans out, he's just going, karate.
Great.
But yeah, the Steven Seagal run through the late 80s into the early 90s was actually pretty dope too. Yeah,
I think that him and fucking Wesley Snipes had a run through the 90s. Passenger 57, fucking Blade,
The Rising Sun, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of when Stallone started to kind of taper down, about the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But it's like, keep in mind, dude was in his 40s at the time, and he's still being an action star.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell it by looking at him, but I mean, now you could.
Now you could.
Because dude's like 75 years old, but
Still looks fucking like a beast. Just
still jacked as fuck.
Yeah, I think we kind of went through the list. There was a bunch of other stupid movies that I didn't really want to even mention, like Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Even though I have seen that movie, also another one of those HBO fucking movies that was on all the time.
I've also seen it, but admittedly, I only watched it because at the time I had a huge crush on Mira Sorvino.
Oh yeah,
because she was in The Replacement Killers with Chow Yun-fat, and she was so hot.
yeah. I always thought she was way more pretty than Lisa Kudrow in that movie.
For sure.
Forrest Gump. We talked about that. Home Alone.
See, that's a game changer for kids' movies, where instead of the kid just being an annoying little shit, like he's fucking smart.
Yeah. Pretty Woman. That's a game changer for hooker movies.
Ladies of the Night. Horse.
American Pie. How can we forget about that?
Oh, dude. American Pie. Another, like, coming-of-age teenage movie. It's kind of like the next generation of John Hughes movies.
Yeah.
Only raunchier.
Yeah. Cruel Intentions. I remember seeing that movie, but I don't remember what it's supposed to be about. Fucking Robin Hood.
Prince of Thieves.
Kevin Costner is British.
Such a, like, mismatched casting. But for me, it worked.
Yeah.
I liked him. And again, like, a movie like that was so culturally significant that it got its own moment of parody in Hot Shots Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he's, like, shooting arrows at the dude and he keeps missing?
Yeah.
Or, like, right as he would shoot, the guy would bend over to pick something up and the arrow would stick in the wall behind him.
Oh, they got a whole fucking spoof movie made about it. The Robin Hood and Men in Tights.
Yeah, Robin... Again, spoof movies that fucking just blasted the original stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he picks up the chicken and he does the slow-mo firing shot with the chicken.
That's a twofer, man. 'Cause you're getting the Rambo with the exploding arrows and the fucking Robin Hood at the same time.
Yeah, that slow-mo arrow scene. Like, yeah, twofer.
It's a twofer. The next one on the list was I Know What You Did Last Summer. My oldest was just watching that last night.
I've seen that movie so many times, and I'm terrified to watch it as an adult because I'm sure if I watch it now, I'd be like, God, this movie's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it was awesome back then.
Yeah, I walked in and I was like, what movie is this? Don't tell me. Hold on a second. And it was like the beginning where they're riding in the car and they first hit the guy on the road. And I was like, oh, okay.
What are you waiting for, huh? So, is there another decade of movies that you would put above the 90s?
I would say 80s and 90s are kind of neck and neck for me personally. There was a few movies that I kept thinking about and I was like, no, that was fucking 80s. No, that was fucking 80s. But I think that the 80s had a lot of cool movies, but the 90s, it was just so much more cinematically pleasing to watch the movies. Yeah. Just because technology was better.
Well, I think I would put the 90s just a little above the 80s because you had a smorgasbord of different movies to pick from, whether it was a genre blending or it was just like a big game changer or a new filmmaker that had a completely unique take on things. Just so many more options than kind of what was in the 80s. And the 80s produced some of the greatest movies ever. But the 90s was just like, you know what? Fuck all the rules. It was the most punk rock decade for movies, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that the 80s for me, I feel like it's more nostalgia that I like the 80s movies, but like the 90s, definitely, like, it was a whole different fucking thing. And because it was such a thing to make, like we talked about, to make a blockbuster movie and make it an event to go and see a movie at the theaters, and felt like it was just a whole different experience, you know.
Yeah.
Waiting for the anticipation of a movie coming out. Now I don't even know what the fuck. Like, my kids say they want to go to the movies. What do you want to watch? I don't know. What's playing? Go scroll through there and like, How to Train Your Dragons again?
Yeah.
Live action? Why?
Yeah. Why did we need that?
Yeah.
And that's where I think the movie industry is really bankrupt, because, and I think it's by and large because of the 90s. Because in the 90s they did a lot of sequels, and then there was some remakes of like classic old movies or rehashings like Romeo and Juliet, where there was such a huge success of that. The following, you know, almost 3 decades is like just trying to copy that same success without putting in the same amount of effort. And that's why movies have gotten so watered down that people don't really want to go to see movies anymore. And I get they kind of got caught in like the juggernaut wave of Marvel and things like that, but at the same time, most movies, they're backed by a big star's name. You know, like, oh, The Rock's in it, it's going to make money. No, it's fucking not, because nobody wants to watch The Rock anymore, or Kevin Hart. Like, can we start casting other people?
Well, that's going to be the same movie because they're all in the same movies together.
Yeah. So it's just become such a system of, well, fuck, 1 + 1 should equal 2, right? Not exactly. Not when you're talking about art.
Yeah.
Because art is not promised to math or any kind of like system of balance.
I think at this point what you need to do is just like write a bunch of ideas down and then just throw like 5 darts, and then whatever ideas they hit, then you have to find a way to tie those things together.
Find a way to David Icke that shit.
Yeah, and then that you're going to have an original idea from that, possibly.
Well, I think the Hollywood system itself is very broken.
Yeah.
Because especially with like the Diddy stuff coming out, and you realize that a lot of the Hollywood system is predicated on a handful of people with power, or even Harvey Weinstein, you know, basically not letting good actresses become good actresses because they wouldn't sleep with him.
Right.
You know, a lot of that stuff comes about, and then the whole system of the unions, and I swear to God, movie writers go on strike every other year for no ass reason. It's like, you guys aren't even writing good stuff. We don't fucking need you. Or SAGs and Directors Guild and things like that. Like, there's so many forms of red tape in filmmaking that it's really bottleneck creativity.
Yeah.
Whereas I guarantee there's a million scripts out there of just normal ass people who wrote a script, and it would make an amazing original movie, but it's never going to get picked up. You think about RoboCop was written by just 2 dudes, just 2 random ass dudes who were like, hey, I got an idea for a movie. They made a script, they sold it for a shitload of money. That movie would have never been made if it wasn't for like somebody going, fuck yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's take a risk.
I kind of wonder if if it's the system of like Netflix and Hulu and shit, and they're, you know, Amazon Prime making their own movies, but more so the popularity of miniseries nowadays. Whereas that, like, when I turn on the TV, or if I'm going to watch something, it's usually something that is kind of a series.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because I don't want like to watch a one and done type film, whereas you can watch a prolonged story and not just be like, watch this and it be over with, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that with that popularity, it seems like more studios and more production companies are leaning towards like Netflix series or Amazon series, because it seems like that's what people are watching nowadays, as opposed to like movies. So, I mean, if you can make a series of 10 episodes for cheaper than it would go out to make a blockbuster movie, and you're still going to make the same amount of revenue, and have like a story to continue to keep on making money off it, I think that's kind of why we're seeing this decline in actual movies that come out in the theaters. But
no, that's definitely a huge factor, especially if you're really putting effort into writing characters that go through a real arc. The long form storytelling works a lot better. Mm-hmm. And also, especially if your story has a smaller scale. You know, you think about a show like Sons of Anarchy, where I think it's 7 seasons of, and it tells a big character arc, especially for Jax, the main character. You couldn't do that in a movie.
Yeah.
You would have to do it over like 3 movies or 4. But by the time you get to the 4th movie, it's so watered down, nobody really wants to watch it, you know. And that's proved time and time again with sequels of franchises that go way too long. So I do get it, and it does fit in within certain story types, but not every type. I mean, they do need to bring back the blockbusters in a big way, but they need to be interesting again. Mm-hmm. They need to be more varied and not just a superhero movie. And I say that as a big fan of superhero movies, but the last like dozen or so that came out, I've not gone to see them because they're not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas like a John Wick movie, I'll go see that shit in the theater every time because each entry is still kind of refreshing. It's kind of self-reinventing every movie, except for the 3rd one. That movie was kind of boring. But
I think they need to be an original movie and fucking make another John Wick movie, but like make him realize that he is just a version of Neo in the Matrix.
I would go see that shit.
Yeah. Tie both of those universes together, and then, because I mean, John Wick would be, you know, the ultimate Neo, or, you know,
yeah,
he's turning into Neo and doesn't realize it until he realizes it, and then John Wick that can fly,
sheer fucking will. He's like, remember that time I killed 3 dudes with a pencil in a bar? Now I'm gonna kill 300 with just the eraser from a pencil. Like,
with my mind. But yeah, I mean, will we ever see a John Wick Neo collab? I don't know. I doubt it.
I doubt
we could write it, I guess.
Well, even that would, I think, play better because you're at least playing into fan service.
Yeah.
In a way, you know, or like
kind of like Into the Spider-Verse, where they're meeting all the different Neos, but one is John Wick, one is Constantine, and one is Neo.
Bro, one is the 47 running guy, one is fucking Johnny Utah.
Boy-yo-yo-yo-yoing.
I was gonna say, did you also just get hard? I am fucking bricked up now, dude. All right, we gotta write it.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
Into the Keanu-verse?
I dig it.
Keanu-verse.
Reeves-averse. I think one thing I'm actually a really big fan of is a podcast called The Canceled Movie Report.
I haven't seen it.
So it's a really fun channel where they'll find the script online for a movie that never got made, and the two guys that do it are these two Australian guys, and one of them's a comedian. The other guy's just naturally funny. But they also bring in actors to do to voice the dialogue, and it's all in podcast form, and it's 2 episodes per movie most of the time. But they do such a good job with finding voice actors who match the actors in the movie, and they read through the dialogue and they tell the story and then they tell jokes about it. It's a really great podcast. I highly recommend it. But I think there needs to be a studio that can get a hold of these scripts for movies that never got made and make an animated or a computer generated version.
Yeah.
Because some of these movies, the Tim Burton Superman movie that never got made with Nicolas Cage as Superman, I want to fucking see that movie. I want to see the Ghostbusters 3 movie that never got made. I wanted to see Schwarzenegger's I Am Legend movie that never got made. We could be doing that. Because I always kind of joke to myself, if I could travel to different universes, the first thing I would find is alternate movies.
Yeah.
The universe where we got a Lethal Weapon 5 that was really good, or the universe where we didn't get Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Instead, we got Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. That's a Canceled Movie Report episode, and you will find out the original script for that movie is 1,000 times better than the actual movie we got. So I would totally just go to different multiverses, just collecting movies.
I would assume that with AI being what it is today and ChatGPT, I don't think that, if you had a whole script, I don't see why that would be such a huge leap to just have ChatGPT generate the movie.
That's a more original idea than anything we're getting now.
We just gotta turn to the experts of ChatGPT, Scott, Yeg. We're gonna have
it's Yeg, not Scott.
Oh. Yeg, we're gonna have to lean on you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that Superman Lives movie ASAP. You got a little taste of it in the Flash movie, by the way. Have you ever seen it?
Mm-mm.
So, towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert, it sucks, by the way.
Yeah, I heard it was really bad.
It was oh god. So in the end, Barry is traveling through time, but every time he's traveling through time, he changes something, and it fucks up the whole timeline. In his universe, Ben Affleck is Batman, but he goes and changes things, and so at the end of his movie, Batman is actually George Clooney again, which is kind of a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where he's traveling through the Chrono Bowl, as they call it, and realities are crashing in on each other. And this is the coolest scene in the movie, because you'll see George Reeves as Superman, and then there's a scene of Christopher Reeves as Superman, and then there's a 15-second clip where Nicolas Cage is Superman, and it's actually a really fucking cool scene.
Yeah.
And then you see different Batman and things like that. It's Google that scene. Don't watch the rest of the movie.
I kind of want to watch the movie now.
You better grab another case on the way home. I'm just saying. Ezra Miller sucks.
Yeah, that was kind of the critique that I heard, was that he's just not very good.
I don't even think he's a good actor. We know he's not a good person, but even as an actor, he just doesn't sell anything.
He was the Flash in the
Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, there's only small doses of him in those movies, but
Which is much more tolerable than a full movie. And it's not just a full movie with him, it's a full movie with him as the current Barry Allen and as a younger Barry Allen. So it's quadruply more annoying. I promise it sucks.
Okay. I'll just watch the scene.
Okay, so last question. Favorite movie from the 90s? And why is it The Matrix?
I do love The Matrix, but I want to say probably my favorite movie from the 90s is either Saving Private Ryan or Shawshank Redemption.
God, solid choices. Solid.
Because any three of those movies, if I walk into a room and they're playing, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, yeah. Out of those movies, Saving Private Ryan will get me every single time.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, you know, when you're having a dispute with your old lady and she just flashes her tits at you and you're just like, same thing with Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
You could be arguing with me and just pull out like a portable DVD player with that playing and I'd be like, whatever, you win, shut up.
Can I just hold on to this real quick?
I gotta go with The Matrix.
Yeah.
Just
Again, a solid fucking choice. I mean, I've seen it 1,000 times and I still enjoy watching it and still feel like I uncover a different layer of what it's talking about like each time I watch it.
And it's a movie that no matter what aspect you look at it from, the cinematography, the action, the existential dread of it, like the whole thing, every time you watch it, you feel at least one of those aspects.
Yeah.
And you, to an extent, you almost feel like you're watching it for the first time every time.
Yeah. There was something that the last time I watched it, there was something that I noticed about it that I had not noticed before, but I can't remember what it was now. But it was like, holy shit, I had to rewind it and watch like the first like 15 minutes of the movie because it's like everything is like kind of like echoing itself in the movie, but I can't remember what it was specifically. But yeah, definitely one of my top 5 movies of the 90s. For sure.
I'd probably put that in one of my top 5 of all time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, me too, I think.
Well, I think we solved it. The 90s was the best decade for movies.
Yeah, I can't even think of any movies that really stand out in the 2000s. I mean, I'm sure there are, but like...
But you'd have to look at a list.
Yeah.
Not like the 90s when it's just off the top of your head, you know?
Well...
Solved it, Doctor.
Solved it, Doctor.
All right.
Until next time.
Until next time. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.